Are you personally concerned about the former president's threats against you should he be reelected?
Of course. I think anyone who's on his enemies list should be concerned. Because
what scares you most? What concerns you most?
Well, what concerns me the most is what the court just did was to basically tell Donald Trump, you can do anything through the Justice Department. You can do anything through the military. These are core responsibilities of the President of the United States. You will have unquestioned immunity for whatever you do.
That was Congressman Adam Schiff yesterday on the disgraced ex-president's personal threats against him. Further emboldened now by the United States Supreme Court's immunity decision, it is part of a terrifying and growing trend, the mainstreaming of open calls for political violence under the rhetorical air cover provided by the disgraced ex-president. On Sunday, the Republican nominee for North Carolina's governor, Lieutenant Governor Mark Robinson, in remarks given at a church, said this, quote, "Some folks need killing." Take a look.
We now find ourselves struggling with people who have evil intents. You know, there's a time when we used to meet evil on the battlefield, and guess what we did to it? We killed it. Some liberal somewhere is going to say that sounds awful. Too bad. Get mad at me if you want to. Some folks need killing. It's time for somebody to say it.
Those comments come on the heels of sitting Supreme Court Justice Samuel Alito, who was recorded in a conversation with a left-wing activist who he thought was a political ally, talking about how difficult it is to live peacefully with people on the left, the liberals. Quote, "There can be a way of working, a way of living together peacefully, but it's difficult, you know, because there are differences on fundamental things that really cannot be compromised," end quote. And as we just showed you earlier in the hour, the head of Project 2025, which laid out the agenda for Trump's second term, Kevin Roberts, confirming some of Congressman Schiff's worst fears about the Supreme Court's recent immunity ruling. Roberts saying the Supreme Court has unleashed a second American revolution, which, quote, "will remain bloodless if the left allows it to be." We're back with Ruth, David, and Angelo. Ruth, political violence and the fear of political violence coming and endangering not just the person in the arena, but your family is a tool of the autocrat.
It's the fundamental thing. And this is what got me into following Trump in 2016. I saw that he was using his rallies for a reason that goes back to fascism, that you need to change people's perception of violence. You need to get them to see violence as sometimes justified, sometimes necessary. And so Trump used his rallies from 2015 onwards, and this was the basis of my report for the January 6th committee, as radicalization vehicles. And he would say, in the old days, you could beat up people. And then he's engaging much later in dehumanizing rhetoric. And he's created a climate, of course, saying also, you know, he could stand on Fifth Avenue and shoot someone, launching his campaign at Waco, Texas, where, you know, a pilgrimage site for extremists, going to a gun store and looking at a Glock with his name on it. You know, it's not subtle. And of course, praising murderous dictators all over the world. So changing the perception of violence in Americans' minds, that violence becomes the way you solve differences. That's what some of these quotes were saying. You don't reason, you don't discuss, you kill, you beat up, you jail, and then you torture. And this is the terrain of authoritarianism, and this is what I'm most worried about. He has created a permission structure for, you know, all kinds of people to air their most bloodthirsty fantasies, and this is the way you do politics now for some of these people.
Ruth, thank you for sticking around. You two stayed longer than we had asked you to, and I know you have to go, but thank you very much for all of your thoughts and wisdom today. We're really grateful. David Jolly, the truth about all of this is that it's already happened, right? We live in a post-January 6th world. We live in a post-Paul Pelosi attack world. We live in a post-normalization of political violence world. And you know what Donald Trump knows about all that? it is a big bleeping political loser. It's a big, ugly bruise on his shiny new, thing he wants to project. I'm so informed by the new book, Apprentice in Wonderland, that Trump's just trying to get renewed for another season, that he is this effective sort of accidental autocrat because he is pathological narcissist. He needs to be renewed. He needs the ratings. He needs to be elevated. It's a dangerous combination, but there's always been this sort of reptilian survival instinct that Trump reveals here and there. And you see it in the shaving off of the corners on the platform, where he knows that who he is and what he is unelectable if the country stays focused on the choice. How do you make sure that happens?
Yeah, so look, I agree with you. I think Donald Trump led primarily by his own narcissism, but secondly, the incentive structure. He created a following, and the following is demanding more and more of this drug of absolute power. And what worries me about what's different this go around, and now 8 to 10 years into this, is the followers before were hard to identify. And then we've seen them grow in their public expression of using violence. January 6th being a perfect example, the Paul Pelosi attack you mentioned as well. And now we're seeing followers get elected or hold office or run, right? The North Carolina candidate for governor, who does he believe should be killed? I'll give you another example. An open records request in Florida just revealed that during some protests in the state of Florida, a staff member for Ron DeSantis told state law enforcement, go arrest some people. And when they said, we can't, he said, just arrest a couple of people for the governor. We'll get your back. Don't worry about it. Those types of actions now are a movement that Donald Trump created, and you're seeing it in Project 2025. Let's now use the authority of the state for this, what started out as accidental authoritarianism led by narcissism is now doctrine in today's Republican Party. And I think that's the most dangerous part. And so you see Joe Biden, for instance, having to wrestle with running on a traditional Democratic platform while also meeting the moment of protecting American democracy against this type of movement. And what I worry most about, though I guess it would be the dark lining on a bright cloud, is if indeed America steps up and defeats Trumpism in November, we know Donald Trump will not accept the results of that election. And we now know his followers will get his back in doing whatever it takes to overturn it. Many of those followers now occupying the offices of secretaries of state across the country, offices of governor across the state, state attorneys general, and other people with real power who effectuate this autocratic movement that Donald Trump has unleashed.
Angelo, I've said for a long time, no one's coming to save us, and that's the good news. The only people left with any, Jack Smith had the ill-fated intervention of the United States Supreme Court and a late start. The efforts in New York look like they've been slowed. He was successfully held accountable for his crimes, but now sentencing is delayed. He now has the Supreme Court that has its back. The only bulwark against any of this is to do what Tim Snyder said, to make sure America doesn't end, to make sure Donald Trump isn't elected ever again, that he, as Liz Cheney says, is never anywhere close to the Oval Office ever again. How much of what you understand about the agenda is, based on everything we know about this moment in politics, repulsive to the mainstream voter?
It is repulsive. All the polling shows that. I mean, all the polling shows are repulsive. And as you noted, Trump knows that. I mean, that's why he had to, like sandpaper, smooth out the edges of some of these things, because he knows how to engage with the moment. He's not going to lose large numbers of people for some core policy thing. But I think part of the issue, though, is that even though they would vote against it, that doesn't mean they'd fight for it. And that's sort of the difference. That's why this moment right now is actually very pivotal, right? Because it's one thing to say, oh, that's off-putting, and I have a reasonable choice in front of me. I can choose to go down that direction, or I can choose to go, in the favor of democracy. But once that choice is made, most of those people, as history shows us, they're not going to fight for it. That's why heroes are heroes, right? Because they're not going to fight for it. And that's the part that's so incredible about this moment and important, as you noted, is that that's where we're at this inflection point. And I don't think enough of people have really woken up yet around it. Even the clip around Mark Robinson, I think back to when you think about waking people up, part of that starts with the news media and journalists and reporters. And one of the framings that I've heard you say a bunch of times, and I really appreciate it, is that you talk about us being in a post-January 6th world, that is a moment that we have to start defining a before and after for, because things really changed. And I don't think that post-January 6th sort of mentality has really filtered into the way newsrooms operate. I'll give you an example about Mark Robinson. He said this thing, but that's not an anomaly for him. That's who he is. But if you go back and look at the coverage, the news coverage of Mark Robinson when he became the nominee, the New York Times in their reporting was describing him as a firebrand and a fiery conservative with new ideas. And it was like, that's okay, fine, but they didn't capture the venom, the history, the violence, his endorsement of it, his might makes right sort of approach. They just report him as if another, sort of Republican, maybe with some wacky ideas or an extra personality. And that's really where the trouble is that, and it's not just the Times, it was endemic across the entire news media, is that they don't have the tools yet for engaging with the question that's in front of us. And so they're using old language and old models and old style of storytelling for a very, very different story, a post-January 6th story. And that's where it all comes together, because if you think about it in the arc of Trump, in 2016, if you think about his outside force, it was bikers for Trump. In 2020, the outside group, the arm, was the Proud Boys. Now it's explicitly paramilitary operations. You have Patriot Front and others like them marching at his events and engaging in violence, and he's openly courting it. So part of the challenge there is that even he's shifted in his approach and who he's engaging as the outsider. So we have all the pieces and all the touchstones, but the storytellers haven't quite figured out how to present that story for the people, as you noted in the middle, that would be persuaded to take action now, but certainly won't take action after November.
Hey there, MSNBC fans. I'm Luke Russert, and be sure to join me, Rachel Maddow, Jen Psaki, Lawrence O'Donnell, Steve Kornacki, Joy Reid, and many more September 7th in Brooklyn, MSNBC Live Democracy 2024. Click on the link for ticket information. We will see you there.